y'all been and how y'all doing? It's your favorite, El Brujo del Bloque, and today we are serving bonnets and blackness. Darling, get into it. Today's video is truly something that I think we really need to touch upon because there are certain voodoo concepts in the community that are only known to the servidores as well as to those who walk the path that a lot of people don't really know about exist. And one of those things is the most secretive thing, which is how to turn a loa against someone, or what happens when that occurs, and how to get their attention back. You ready, bitch? Now, I only speak for the beliefs of the 21 divisions of Dominican voodoo, and I know that this is literally something that is believed and understood throughout the entire island. I cannot speak for Haitian voodoo, for I do not know if this is a shared belief, and I also cannot speak for any other African traditional religions, but this is definitely one for the history. In voodoo, we have a very popular belief that someone can turn your loa against you. This is a very commonly shared belief. It is one of the reasons why a lot of people do not have a lot of friends when they are walking voodoo. One of the reasons why a lot of people do not go out past a certain time. It's why a lot of people don't upload a lot of photos of themselves. People are heavily motivated by this fear, and it causes a lot of people to do things that they normally wouldn't. The more people get to know voodoo, the more they understand why these things actually apply to them, even if they don't find themselves in the traditional circumstances to get themselves in these situations. So the basic understanding of when a loa turns their back on you is when Loa turns their back on you, essentially their blessings stop coming. Things do not get easy for you. Things actually just kind of hit you as normal life would. So if you find yourself in a country or a state in which it is surmounted by poverty, there is a shit ton of political warfares, and there's just a lot of things in the crossfire, you can find yourself essentially in that turmoil. When a loa has their back turned against you, essentially, if you are caught in the crossfire, you will not be protected. You will not be defended. If there's an injustice done against you, the loa will not help you. And that is what happens essentially when a loa has their back turned against you. If someone throws witchcraft on you, the loa will not go to defend you. The loa will not block it, from hitting you. If you, get in some sort of dangerous situation, the loa will not protect you. These are the huge circumstances that come from having a loa have their back turned against you. Now, the three main reasons are fairly reasonable. Three main reasons why a loa will turn their back on you is, number one, if you are profaning the religion itself. If you have loa, it just means that this is part of your lineage, or that a loa has chosen to walk with you. A loa can choose anyone, no matter their race, gender, creed, or orientation. In the world of the 21 divisions and in the world of voodoo, a loa can choose whoever they want, even someone outside of the culture, because they can invite anybody to walk voodoo. However, the most common people that do walk voodoo are people who were born into these religions and who have this passed down to them by blood right. But what it means to profane these religions is essentially that you turn away from this religion, you leave African traditional religions, and let's use the example of you go to Christianity. So in Christianity, they teach you that everything that isn't according to the Bible is demonic, so then you start to adhere to that belief, and now you come back to your African roots and your African traditional religions such as voodoo, and you begin to profane, pray against, rebuke, and start demonizing your loa. That is profaning them. That is being extremely, extremely disrespectful, and you are, performing blasphemy against holy spirits that pertain to African belief, Taino belief, and various other beliefs, because if you guys don't know, the 21 divisions is a conglomerate of various spiritualities that came together. And if you go against those beliefs, you go against those spirits, you are not safe. What you are asking is for a spiritual warfare. One of the reasons why that is a call for spiritual warfare is a lot of times they do not care about what other religious beliefs you want to follow, because African traditional religions always teach that all belong and there is no such thing as one right or wrong religion. So if you want to go ahead and be a Christian and practice voodoo, that is fine. You want to go ahead and be a Muslim and practice voodoo, that is fine to them. You want to go ahead and practice Hinduism and practice voodoo, that is fine to the Loa. They have no problem with these things. The issue is when you now take what you're learning from a cultural perspective and demonizing your original ancestral culture and your Loa, that is when it becomes an issue for them. So profaning and disrespecting the altar, disrespecting the spirits is one of the reasons why a Loa can turn their back on you. Aside from the fact that they may punish you and your generations to come for doing so, one of the first things that they will do is turn their back on you. And with that, that means that, now you're a Christian, congratulations, you did that. But what is wrong is that you disrespected your ancestral way. Now that a Loa has turned their back on you, much of the luck that you used to have when you walked voodoo will not be there for you. Much of the protection that you used to have when you walked voodoo will not be there for you. So if your life gets truly, truly difficult, you may start to think that, oh, it's the devil testing you. Well, it may be so for you and for your beliefs. But life is simply fucking you in the ass, and your Loa are the only ones that used to guard you and defend you. But now that you profane them and now that you have demonized them, they no longer want to defend and protect you because you have truly disrespected the altar and profaned and blasphemed against them. Again, if you want to go ahead and leave African traditional religions, that is not a problem. They will still love you as long as you respect what once belonged to you and what does belong to you if you are of Caribbean, African, or Black descent. The second reason why a Loa may turn their back against you is if you're going against their workings. What this means is, say for example, you do a reading for someone and you find out that they have witchcraft against them, and you straight up just say, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna reverse this for you. You don't even ask your Loa for permission, you just start going to work and you start helping them. You don't know that you're actually overwriting their karma, because they're actually supposed to be having whatever's happening to them happen to them, and it's usually because of a punishment of a Loa. So if a Loa is performing justice and you are performing injustice by removing that justice and cleansing them of, whatever negativity is happening to them, you just allowed for them not to learn the life lesson they need to not do shit again. You may have also removed whatever else issues that was happening to them that was actually meant to make them a stronger person. Many, many reasons why you should not go ahead and do things on your own without asking for the permission of the Loa is that many Loa can forgive this, but many will also not forgive this, because not only is this showing a sign of, they take it as a sign of arrogance when you do this. They take it as a sign of you think you know more than they do. They take this as a sign of disrespect. It's one of the ways that you can also have them turn their backs on you, because they're like, oh, so you think you know more than I do. Okay, then I'm not gonna help you or them. Now I'm gonna keep on allowing y'all two to act like y'all both know what the hell is right for the both of you. And that is the perfect way to piss off a Loa. Now, the third way is the most common way that a Loa turns their back on you, and it is if someone turns your Loa against you. This is the most commonly shared belief. A lot of people not only commercialize this belief, but it is also something that is spread about as a fear tactic alone. And it is usually that some strange hater that you have is turning your Loa against you. Now, this may be the case. You may actually have someone that does this, but this is usually how it happens. For example, you do not take care of your Loa. You have Loa, you just don't take care of them. You don't care for them. You kind of just ignore them. And this can happen to your muertos, this can happen to your Loa, this can happen to essentially any spirit guide also. This doesn't just apply to Loa beliefs in the 21 divisions. This is believed that any guide that you have, including an Indio, including a Congo, whatever it is, someone can turn them against you. How this happens is pretty self-explanatory, and it's actually very reasonable to believe this because it makes the most sense to me. If you are not taking care of them, you're not feeding them, you don't even spend time with them, you don't even ask them for for their blessing or their help. You don't even care to ask for their guidance. You kind of just like do whatever you want. You ask them when you need help and then you ignore them, you put them off, and they're kind of sad, just waiting for your attention. And someone comes along, they can read you, but they know that you're a hard person to convince or a hard person to break through because they can see that you're protected by them. Well, how do you get someone that is very hard to break into, very hard to convince, very hard to persuade, and very hard to get, a relationship out of? Very simple. If you cannot break into the mentality of the person, you break into their spirit. And the one way that you break into someone's spirit is you start feeding their spirits on their behalf, and then you start romancing their spirits. When I use the term romancing, I don't literally mean get flirtatious and get crazy with the spirits. I mean, they would never do that, but what I mean by that is you start feeding them. You start taking care of that person's spirits in your own home. And suddenly you begin to gain this affinity with this person's spirit. And now, since you take care of that person's spirit, now that Loa, that spirit guide, that person wants to work with you. Now that they want to work with you on behalf of that person, now that person's guard is gone. Now that person's guard is down. So penetrating their mental health or penetrating their mind, penetrating their emotions is so much more easier because their spiritual guard is down. So if you want, you can go ahead and do a love spell, it'll work. Go ahead and do a hexing, it'll work. Go ahead and do, a blessing spell, whatever have you. Essentially, their guards are down because what did that person do? They turned your guide against you. And that is one way that people can turn your spirits against you. If you are not taking care of yours, well, then you can't be mad that someone else is doing it better than you are. Especially applies if you do not believe in these beliefs, but you still, by blood right or by lineage, or by what have you, walk with any sort of Loa or any sort of spirit within the 21 divisions. It is a shared belief, it's known, but these are secrets that really, we don't talk about a lot. And one of the reasons is because this knowledge is dangerous to share, but I'm not teaching you guys how to do those things. I'm just teaching you guys what can happen if someone did know. Luckily, however, for all of these things, when a Loa turns their back against you, there is also a way to turn them back. The way is fairly easy. The first method is doing an Hora Santa to that spirit. Essentially, an Hora Santa is a holy mass or a holy hour in which you pray to the Catholic Association or the Catholic saint that is synchronized with your Loa or, with whatever spirit guide you have. If you want to do it to your spirit guide, you can. If you want to do it to a muerto, you can. If you want to do it, whoever guides you, and you know who guides you, if you know who guides you, you do a holy hour to that spirit. And you call them down, you ask for their blessing, you pretty much are rekindling your relationship with them and you're celebrating them to get them to return back to you or to turn their face back to you. Essentially, at that party or at that holy hour, someone can start to receive messages on behalf of you and you can actually begin to listen to your spirit through someone else's mouth. Because when your spirit guide or what have you are against you, you will not be able to hear them, you will not be able to listen to them. And in the event where someone is using them against you and you are in fact taking care of them, they will warn you immediately that someone is attempting to use their spirit against you, and they will tell you what you have to do to revoke those energies. But that is only in the case if you already are taking care of your spirits. Second way to face you again is if you do a Fiesta de Palo. Fiesta de Palo is especially akin to the Loa, and if you are having issues with a Loa in that sense where someone has turned them against you or their back is turned against you for something you did. A Fiesta de Palo is in which you do a very communal thing where you can do something small for your family, where you feed everyone. It's pretty much an act of generosity and it's very cultural. A Fiesta de Palo essentially celebrates, the African way of life and the African culture of Dominican voodoo. And it starts off very Catholic and ends very African. A Fiesta de Palo is always celebrating the patron saint in which that Loa that you are trying to get back is synchronized with. Hope this video was super helpful to you guys. This is something that I've been dying to talk about for the longest. I tried to make this video short as possible, but I had to give all the information that I had to give. Hope you guys learned something new. Luz y progreso.